This is a big important question for your careers. Even in fact, the gentleman Casey over there last night, he and I were even chatting, and he reminded me that one of the reasons sometimes people become managers is because no one else would step up to do it. So we will talk about all sorts of good stuff, the framework for making the decisions. First, I want to cover a quick piece of logistics. I am legally blind, so if, like, say, Taylor Swift comes in, make sure I won't see that. So make sure, like, you get her autograph for me. Ask her if she needs a guitarist. But seriously, I may not see you raise your hand. You can interrupt me with any questions, anything you want to ask, if you want clarification, if you want to tell me my mic's slipping and I'm not coming through. So let's get rocking on this. Yes.
I will help you with that. Well, if you want to ask a question, I will be his eyes, so everything should work smoothly.
And my goal is to, if you could all help a blind guy out and just kind of keep an eye on the clock, I would love to leave a minimum of 15 minutes for Q&A, which is 35 minutes past the hour. This usually generates a lot of good back and forth. So I may call out to Dustin or you guys for a quick time check, and if you could just let me know what time it is. And I'm trying to go by my phone here too. Okay, let's talk about a few terms here. I did not realize that some people don't know what IC means. IC stands for individual contributor. If you are working in a capacity such that you have no direct reports, you're an IC. Sometimes people like to think of it as the leaf nodes on the tree. I'm not a big fan of it, but if that helps you out, there you go. Contrary to that, for the purposes of this talk, we're going to use the terms engineering manager or people manager or manager interchangeably. This is the other side of the coin. This is if you do have one or more people officially reporting to you on paper in the org chart. Officially is kind of important there because that's not to be confused with tech lead. Many of you have worked with tech leads or you've been tech leads. Tech leads are involved with leadership of the team somewhat. They tend to focus on technical direction, vision. They will often work with the people manager of the team. I can tell you I love my tech leads, and I work extensively with them. They're involved in perf reviews to some extent. I get their insight, their input. I bounce my ideas past them. So tech leads are a wonderful group of folks. Kind of randomly inserted here, but I use it several times in the presentation. I want you to be aware of what the term intern program means. A lot of companies like to recruit new talent. They like to go to colleges. They'll often have a campus recruiting program. The intern program at your company is simply usually sponsored and run by HR, and it's a way of bringing college talent, a lot of times they haven't graduated yet, to work at your company as a trial experience. You all know what interns are. The intern program is what HR sets up to get this continuous pipeline of folks into the company as interns, and hopefully if they're young, bright talent and they like your shop, they choose to work there full time. Okay, should you become a people manager? Big question of this talk, the whole reason you are here. I thought a lot about this, and we are going to apply what is known as the MMO framework. I cannot tell you how much I wish I was about to talk about EVE Online or World of Warcraft. I love me some MMOs, and I think a lot of you do too. We are not talking about MMOs, unfortunately. We are talking about something you have all heard of, though. Motive means opportunity. This does not mean we are going to solve some crimes yet. Growth mindset. We are going to answer the question, should we become a manager? So in this framework, the talk we're going to do now is basically broken up into three sections. Motive is the root of the word motivation. Do you have the right reasons? I also feel this is the most important category, so we're going to lead off with this, and I'm going to walk you through some possible internal conversations you've had with yourself or you could have with yourself. Means, this is the meat of the talk, it goes last. This is, do you have the skills and the traits? Are you cut out for it? Opportunity. When you hear the word opportunity in the sense of career and job hunting, you think, is there an opening? Is there a job? A recruiter cold calls you on the phone. What's the first thing they say? I have an amazing opportunity for you. We're actually talking about something different in this. Opportunity is going to be an objective set of circumstances and a lot of yes or no questions. My wife will tell you I am a very black and white, zeros and ones, binary thinker. So I will give you a series of yes or no questions that will tell you if you have a good environment and circumstances to become a people manager. So let's get started right away on motive. Let me check my time. Okay, cool, we're doing great. Why is always the most important question. And if any of you now or in the future are thinking about becoming a manager, I want you to have a conversation with yourselves. Find someplace quiet, maybe go on a trip for a day. I actually look at myself in the mirror and just kind of have a silent conversation, or I picture a friend's voice or my dad's voice in my head, my mom's voice. What would they say about what I'm thinking? It is surprisingly easy as human beings to delude ourselves. So let's go through, I want to go through here a lot of the common reasons why we might want to become managers. And this is a quick list of bullet points. Find a spouse, find a good friend, a parent, someone you really trust. My wife, Amanda, is absolutely phenomenal for calling me on my BS. Like, I'll tell her, like, I want to do this, and here's the reason I want to do it. And she's a scientist and a project manager. She's amazing with the logic, and she will blow my logic out of the water in a loving way, in a very supportive way. I love when she tells me I'm wrong. It's fantastic. Bonus points when you talk to this confidant if they have been a manager before. I have good friends. Their names are Jason and Steve, and hopefully they'll see this talk. They've been a big influence and a big help because they have trodden, whatever the word is, they have gone the path before me. So they're a big help. And then do your homework. Read books, read blogs. There's an amazing amount of leadership books out there. And you don't even need to read it for the how to do it. Just read it for the stories. Read it for the oh, is this something I would enjoy? I did a lot of that before I became a people manager, and it kind of turned me on to it. So let's go through some common reasons. I have ranked these in a certain order. You will soon see the order. I'm going to offer an opinion. And the blind guy likes his color, so you're going to see little colored numbers on the screen. I would all like you to raise your hand if you think it is a fantastic idea to become a people manager if you would like to make more money. Raise your hand if you believe that is true. Okay, that is fair. That is very fair, and it's a trick question. Now, what you're about to see for the next 10 minutes or so of these slides is my opinion. I have been wrong many times in my life, usually several times a day. I want you to be careful on this one, and I rated blind guy sees a minus there, so that's a minus 10 out of 10. I want to talk really briefly about this, and this is very important. It's something you need to get in touch with yourself if you become a people manager, and in general, it's a good idea. Compensation is what is called an extrinsic motivator. It's the external carrot out in the world that you are chasing after. There is this phenomenal book that I mentioned in the last bullet point called Drive, The Surprising Truth About What Motivates Us. If you are partially motivated by compensation, and who isn't? I am. Everyone, you gotta pay your rent. I had a great reporter. His name was Darren. He reported me into Shopify, and he had this great phrase. He's like, Larry, title's great and all, but title doesn't pay a mortgage. Like, amen. That is the truth. The reason you don't want compensation to be your primary motivator in such an important career change is it will not carry you. And that is one of the points covered in this book, Drive. Extrinsic motivators are almost like a hit of dopamine or a drug that has a very temporary effect. And you know what happens? What happens? We've all heard these awful stories of addiction and downfalls, and you see it in celebrities and musicians all the time. What happens? The drug wears off. You need more of it. And so what this book talks about is if you're constantly chasing after those extrinsic motivators, the satisfaction that it gives you when you finally get it wears off. So please, I am begging you from the bottom of my heart, more salary is okay, but there are actually going to be other ways to get it while staying in IC and doing what you love. Let me check my time real quick here. Okay. More control over your work. This is also not a good one. And it's kind of an amusing reason why. When you become a people manager, you become of service to others. The primary way in which you operate is through your calendar. Your time becomes everyone else's, and you will have less control over the day-to-day work of what you do. You will get some stuff done. I carve out some quiet time both at the beginning and the end of the day, and I can be productive. But really, when you're a people manager, you are now of service to others. So I would not recommend this as a good reason to get more control over your work. This next one I want to cover quickly because it's complex, and if any of you want to talk about this over beers, let's do it. I also hear the reason, well, I want more control over, oh, you know what, sorry, blind guy, I accidentally, I moved on subject matter, but there's one more thing I want to say if you want more control over your own work. If you are like me, you tend to be an Uber helper. You hear of a team that needs help. You know you can do the work. You want to do the work. And so you say, I will help you out. And one diff becomes several diffs. Becomes, oh, now you're helping out with the operations. And you do this 8, 9, 10 times, and all of a sudden, in a given week, you have no control over your own destiny because you have made all of these prior commitments and obligations out of wanting to be helpful. So if you were thinking about becoming a people manager because you feel like you have no control and everything's coming at you and you really just want to organize things, first of all, you got to make sure, okay, have you overcommitted yourself? The other 3 bullet points here real quick. Talk to your manager. Ask yourself, are they a micromanager? Are they not giving you the control you want? Do you need to switch teams? Sometimes it's company-wide culture. Sometimes companies are just factories and they chew people up and they burn them out. So you just got to step back, look around your environment and say, why am I not getting the control I want? But becoming a people manager will not give you that control. All right, here's the one where I'll have beers with you because it's a complex topic. I will hear people say, I am frustrated with the work going on around me or what's going on. Really, this is something they usually misarticulate to themselves. And in general, they're just frustrated. Here's a few bullet points of what they might be frustrated about. The capacity of their team, the direction of the team, the vision of their team. Really, whenever I've had a conversation about this topic, I'll be honest, 75% of the time, what is actually going on is they just need someone to vent to about how much their job sucks. That's really what a lot of this comes down to. So you can see my numeric range here, -7 to +2. It peaks out at +2. So this is not a great reason, and please reach out to me after this talk. I'll have my contact info. If this is one of your motivations, I can help you suss out some potential different reasons. Okay. Try something new. I thought about 10 minutes silently in my chair of where I wanted to rate this. I knew it was an important one to bring up. And I rated it fairly low, and here's why. It comes from a piece of great advice my mom gave me growing up, and it's stuck with me. She said, in life, change is inevitable. Change is going to happen. So a lot of times, if you're lucky, you're in control of some of that change. And she said, when you are making a change, you have to ask yourself a fundamental question. Are you running towards something, or are you running away from something? And if you were like me, a lot of times, and this is human desire, my sister explained this to me because she's an expert on the mind and willpower, human beings get bored on long-term things. Every 4 to 5 years, it is actually instinctual for us to crave something entirely different professionally. So all I'm going to warn you is, if you're thinking, I'd like to try something new, make sure it's not because you're bored. Make sure it's not because you tend to hop from thing to thing, because people management involves the custodian of other people's careers and livelihood. So I'm not a huge fan of, I want to try something new, because a lot of times people are just because. It's a variation of that reason. However, here's a good variation. And sorry, one final point. If you do want to become a people manager to try something new, I do recommend making use of your company's intern program. And we'll get more onto that in the opportunity section. See how I'm doing on time here. You're curious. That is a healthier version of you want to try something new. You're intellectually stimulated and you say, that seems interesting. I might want to try that. So being curious, that's a good reason. And I think all of us in our technical roles, curiosity has served us well. That's when I did my most learning. It's when I figured out what I wanted to help people with, what I wanted to do. Curiosity is generally a great thing. Have more impact. Look at these ratings. We're getting up there. I like this one. 7 out of 10. Having more impact is a great thing. I want to give you one caveat. If you talk to your manager, you talk to maybe your manager's peers, you talk to the teams you work with, a lot of times you can actually have more impact by collaborating with other teams, identifying bigger projects that you can be a part of. A lot of times you don't have to become a people manager to have more impact around you. So if you trust your manager, talk to him about it and just say, hey, I'd like to come up with ways I can have more impact. And hopefully if one of my reports has that conversation with me, it's because I dropped the ball. Because usually I'm looking for ways for my folks to have more impact. Like, oh, hey, he's been cranking on some obscure firewall thing and this other team really needs help with that. Like, let's put him with them for a week. Things like that. I threw this in yellow because it's important. Again, you got to be honest with yourself. Do not mix up you want to have more impact with you want more applause. You want more people to think you're awesome. That's slightly different motivation. Impact is about affecting positive change in the people and the work around you. That's what I want you to remember. A couple more reasons. I like this one, develop new skills. You just need to remember that becoming a people manager is a whole new class of skills. I hate to use this term, but it is relevant. It's an emotional intelligence thing. If you've ever gone to the gym and done a certain exercise that you haven't done in a long time, you'll feel like you've worked out muscles that you didn't know you had. Every day for probably the first 3 to 4 months, if not 6 months or longer, every day in people management was like that. I would be exhausted by the end of the day, and I'd be like, why am I so exhausted? I sat at my desk, I went for a walk, I got some water. It was the nature of the conversations. And it wasn't bad, it was just a lot is riding on the line. You know, you could have 2 conversations with 2 of your reports who feel they're not getting paid as much as they should. And when you look at it, you're like, yeah, they should be getting paid more. And you might have your hands tied. You might not be able to get them a raise or a comp adjustment for 6 months. That takes a toll. And to deal with that and get through those types of conversations, you're going to have to develop some new skills. But developing new skills is a great reason to become a new people manager. This is a good example. It was just a random one. Imagine a world-class Olympic athlete decides, okay, I want to become a politician. Sure, they might be able to do it. Sure, they were a great athlete, but being a phenomenal IC, especially in the technical genre, may or may not translate to being a phenomenal people manager. And that's okay. Not everyone's cut out to do it. This is my favorite one. 10 out of 10. Help people be more successful. Just help the people around you make the world a better place. Again, this is my opinion, but I think this is the most important reason and a great motivation to become a people manager. Okay, I'm going to start needing to speed up because I want to make sure and get through all this content on time and leave time for Q&A. Let's move on to the second part of this framework, opportunity. This is the objective part. This is where you look around and say, is this a healthy environment to become a people manager? Here's my analogy. Imagine you decide you want to become an Olympic diver. You want to go onto the Olympic team. Is that going to take a lot of work? Yes. Do you need to start practicing now? Yes. Okay. The only environment you have access to at the moment is an empty concrete pool with a high dive board. Yes or no? Do you have an environment conducive to becoming an Olympic diver? And I would argue you have one opportunity. You can jump off that diving board and execute the most perfect dive once. So I'm going to give you some yes or no questions to look around and say, hey, is this the company that is this the place and the time to do it? Here's some rigmarole. Basically, I'm saying it's the objective set of circumstances around you that are, you say, do I have this? Is there that? Is there that? X, Y, and Z? Okay, I've got the ingredients. This could work out. Okay, step 1, I've said it several times, best thing you can do, participate in your company's internship program. I will let you kind of read through these reasons why, but I'll summarize it real quick. I already did. It's when your HR department basically says, we want to get some talent in here. We want it to be young talent. Let's hit the colleges. Let's hit the universities. And your manager may tap you on the shoulder, or your director may tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, would you please help out? Even if you think they're just trying to offload some work, you should do it for all of these reasons, in particular, the one in green. It genuinely gives you a low-risk way of getting a sense of what it's like to be responsible for others. You might make friends for life. You'll develop the mentoring and coaching skills. It's really a good first step if your company offers it. Be very careful. Some interns are fantastic. They are low overhead. You know from the second you meet them they're future rock stars. And maybe you have 2 or 3 interns. And each of those interns maybe takes a half an hour a week, or you do a little bit of paired programming, let's say an hour a week. So you begin thinking to yourself, this people management stuff is cake and it is low overhead. I could have 7 people reporting to me and they'll only take an hour a week. Sweet, I've got 33 hours in a typical work week left for tech work. I am gonna do people management. No. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time. So just a quick word of advice. Don't extrapolate the time lack of intensiveness with interns with, okay, I'll have plenty of time to split my career between people managing and IC technical work. Let's see. And again, as I said before, if you get asked to do it, that is an honor. Your management train trusts you, your peers trust you. If you get asked to, hey, would you please take these interns for the summer for us, just do it. Even if you're not thinking about becoming a people manager, it's a very rewarding experience. Okay, step 2, this is an important one, folks. Does your company offer separate technical and management development tracks? And it's kind of an opinion alert coming up here, but if not, in my opinion, you are most likely not in a healthy environment to become a people manager. In my experience, you won't be well supported. You certainly will not be able to make the decision reversible. And the argument goes like this. Managers rank above ICs. HR will almost always consider it a promotion that comes along with a little bit more salary. Yay, you get more money. You're a manager. Oh no, you don't like it. You'd like to go back to being an IC. Well, going back to an IC is a different salary band. It's lower. So HR says, well, we'd have to give you less money, and that would be a demotion, and a demotion is just a lawsuit waiting to happen. We can't really go back to being an IC. So be very careful if you work at a company where there's no track and at some point you have to become a manager. It's just, I would advise against it. Let's see. Again, these type of companies tend to make the assumption you are a great IC, therefore you will make a great manager. Sometimes that's true, sometimes it's not. I think you all can come up with an example in your career where you met someone who went from IC, became a manager, wasn't necessarily the best manager you could have hoped for. Okay, and again, it's a culture thing. Worker bees on the bottom, managers up top, just not a healthy environment. Step 3, make it reversible. This is a big mantra for us in tech and infrastructure and coding. Make it reversible. You want to go and you want to talk to HR and you want to grill HR for answers. And I've seen this, so I'm not making this up. Oh, sorry, let's go back. You'll run into a catch-22, and HR departments all over the world don't realize they've created it. And it works like this. They want lateral movement. They were like, sure, you can try out people management. Yes, let's talk to your manager. Let's find a spot. Let's get it happening. And what they forget is they've also instantiated this rule that says, oh, for a role change, we don't want low performers just hopping from one team to another, messing things up. So in order to do a role change, you need to have positive performance for 1 review cycle or 2 review cycles. This is a catch-22. The whole reason you are trying out people management is to see if you're any good at it. And if it doesn't work out for you, well, if you're going by HR's rule, hey, I'm not doing performance-wise too great here. And they, well, it doesn't matter. You got to have high perf to get back. So you want to see if you're good at something, and the rule says, well, you have to be good at it if you want to stop doing it. So it is a catch-22. You got to watch out for those situations. We talked about the second bullet point a little bit already. Step 4, talk to your manager. If you have a supportive manager, I would love to hear from my reports that they were thinking about it someday. Every single one of my reports throughout my management career was a great IC, and they loved doing it. So I didn't have to have many of these conversations. But if you are thinking about this, talk to your manager and use words like someday. Like, don't drop this on them at the 0 hour, because if you're a good contributor as an IC, they won't want to lose you. Even if you trust them, observe how they react. When you say, hey, I was kind of playing around with the idea of someday becoming a people manager, do they squirm? Is the first word out of their mouth? You want to get a sense of if they're going to help you in your career. I hope you have a manager that wants to be excited about this and help you develop in your career. But give them plenty of heads up. And like I said, a good manager will support you. I would love to talk about my folks that want to become managers someday. All right, this is straightforward. Find an opening. Ideally, you want it to be where you work, because hopefully you've built up some goodwill, some social capital. If you've become a great IC, people will be rooting for you. There's nothing like the feeling of trying something new you haven't done before and having your peers root for you. That is really a good feeling. You can look in all the usual places. Check your internal job boards. If your manager's helping you out, he may have heard of something that's available. A lot of times there may be a sister team or a sibling team where they do similar work, and their manager, whatever, needs to cut out permanently, or maybe he's going on leave. There's a lot of opportunities. If you look, they're out there. Okay, I'm going to fire off these bullet points. I'll let you read them as I kind of talk about them. Good handoff. Good handoff is being about a good citizen to the end. So if you've got projects, you need to finish them, you need to kill them, or you need to hand them off. You need to work with your manager, be willing to hire your replacement, be willing to interview your replacement. At one point in my career, I conducted 9 interviews I was the tech lead with my people manager, and I was moving on, and this wasn't even into a manager position, and we did a lot of interviewing to find the right personality. So just be willing to help in the transition, and understand we may be chomping at the bit to try the new gig, but it can take weeks or even months. So just be patient and do everything you can to help your manager out. All right, what are we doing on time check? Oh yeah, I got to get moving here. Step 7, go for it. The main thing I would say is if you become a people manager, you want to give it an absolute minimum 6 months, preferably 9 to 12, and it relates to the third bullet point. If your company does perf reviews, you really want to get yourself, you want to experience a full performance review cycle from the beginning all the way through doing the writings, doing the feedbacks, collecting the feedbacks, assigning ratings. Hopefully you get to have some great conversations, salary bumps, promotions. I'd say my single favorite thing doing as a people manager is promoting my folks and showing them off, even if it means sending them to another team. Like, again, it goes back to just help people be successful. Okay, lastly, let's talk about means. This is, do you have the skills? Do you have the attributes? I set this next little effect for fading, and I made it yellow because it's kind of ominous and it's important. Are you cut out for this? I'm going to try and give you a little taste and tell you about the traits that, in my opinion, are quintessential to survival as a people manager. I have a working title. I have 3 chapters of a book written, but it's got a bad word in the title, so if you all want to know the title of the book I'm working on, come find me afterwards. It's a good one. Okay. This right here could be 3 books, and it could be 5 hours of talks. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tap my keyboard over and over, and I want you to watch the words that come up on the screen. This is just a sampling of the types of things you might do on a random day when you are a full-blown people manager. Oh, look at all that stuff. Oh, there's salary. Salary's good. Oh, personal issues. Documentation. Everyone loves documentation. Whoa, didn't we already talk about meetings? Wait, is that double vision? No, there's more meetings. Oh, what therapy? What is going on there? Therapy. Well, one-on-ones, yeah, it makes sense. Perf review. Wow, reorgs. Oh, that's always fun. Oh, I forgot about meetings. So, if you like variety, yeah. True story, I set a stopwatch. I was sitting in a text file in Emacs because I'm old school. And I set a stopwatch and I said, okay, I need to come up with a full slide of this stuff. And it took me 27 seconds to list all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, I gotta stop. This will fill up a slide. You give me 5 more minutes, I could give you 100 more items. People management, you never know what's in store for you. If you wanna hear crazy stories, go to HR. They have fantastic war stories. It's something new every day, and it's very rewarding. I'll talk about a little bit of these. But most importantly, what we want to move on to is the attributes I think you need, as opposed to, hey, what's it like to be a manager? If you want to know what it's like, you want to hear the day-to-day, come find me. Come Zoom meeting, Google meeting, I'll talk about this stuff all day long. We're going to talk about the attributes I think you need. This is the most important. You have to want others to be more successful. You put their success above yours. This is my opinion. You talk to 100 managers, they'll give you 100 different explanations of like, oh, what do you need to be a successful manager? This, I believe, I love correlation. Regardless of what other traits you possess, I believe if you have this attribute, you are very likely to become a phenomenal people manager. You will figure out how to build the rest of what you need. Conversely, I feel that if you do not have this attribute, or you're not truly willing to put the success of others above your own, you will not likely make a good people manager. Especially the people that report in through you as you make your way through your career. You may have an entire org. I hope this isn't a condescending analogy, but I always look at my org as my flock, the people I protect. I look out for their careers. I look out for their skills development. You know, I made a decision. Did this help everyone become more successful? If it didn't, why did I make the decision? If they're successful, you're successful. If they failed, you failed. Cut and dry. That is it. Your number one attribute for being a people manager, putting everyone's success above your own. And if you are at a good company and you put everyone else's success above your own, good things will happen to you. The universe, I'm not a touchy-feely guy, but I will tell you, the universe does reward good karma if you are helping the others around you to be successful. And that's not just true for people managers, that's true for us ICs. That's everyone that qualifies. Okay, folks, this is important. Long time ago, I was on the phone with my sister because I thought I was a weirdo. And I said, hey, Jay, her name's Joni. I'm like, Joni, I was at this party, and I liked talking to people. And then there's a really weird thing, and it happens at all these parties. After about an hour, I am exhausted, and this weird switch in my brain goes off, and I have to get myself outside, away from people, or I'm going to explode, and I just need quiet, and I just need to not talk. And she said the best phrase that any human being can say to another human being. She said, oh, no crap? Holy cow, yeah, that happens to me all the time. I thought I was the only one. It was fantastic. And here's where this applies to us. A lot of technical folks, myself included, are introverts. In modern psychology, an introvert, it used to be, back in the day, an introvert meant you don't like being around other people. You know, heads down, hang out in your cave, watch your TV, play your games, write your code. Extrovert meant you want to be the party. You're in sales, right? 30 years, when I was growing up in the 80s, extroverts were in sales. Modern psychology has a much better definition, and I want you all to be aware of it because it affects, you may think you're not cut out to be a people manager, and you actually are. It was determined that introversion simply means that when you interact with people, that depletes your energy. You could love it, but it depletes your energy. And at some point, you just got to kick out, peace out, and get a break. And I'm like that. My kids could tell you like that. Dad needs a few minutes a day of his quiet time in the basement. So understand, you can be an introvert. You can be a successful people manager while being an introvert. But what you need to do, folks, is you need to be willing to have frequent interactions. If you need to cut out and get a few minutes to collect your thoughts, that's totally fine. But if you like working in a silo, if you like being alone with your thoughts, if you like solving hard problems for days on end like I used to, people manager probably not the best route at this time. And in the future, your approach could change. This is a big one. If there were ever managers that I did not enjoy working for, this is one of the big culprits. Folks, you got to be willing to relinquish control. If you try to micromanage, you're going to create resentment. You've got to take every opportunity to show your reports that you trust them. So be prepared to let go of the control. You owe it to the folks around you. You don't want to micromanage. A good buddy of mine, Steve, gave me a great little nugget of wisdom, and he said, Larry, I think our job as managers is no longer to have the answers. That's our smart ICs. That's why we hire. That's why we put them through grueling interviews. They'll come up with the answers. Our job is to now make sure the questions get asked. And he was absolutely right. So Steve, when you go to watch this recording someday, 100%, amen. You are totally right. Another thing on giving up control. I have very high standards. A little bit of it relates to my vision impairment. I need to get things just right. I need indentation just right. I loved Python many years ago when I discovered it. I need things a certain way. But I want you to ask yourself, when you are people managers, ask yourself questions like this. Do my reports hold each other accountable? Are they doing quality work? Are they providing value to the company? Are they going above and beyond? If most of those questions are yes, don't critique them. Don't polish their work. Just kind of pipe down and know that maybe their work isn't up to your standards if you were doing it, but guess what? You're not doing it. You are helping them to do it. You're supervising. Okay, I need to go pretty fast. Wow, yeah, we're running. I want to make sure to leave a little room for Q&A. So there's a few more traits that are of lesser import, all on one slide. So I want you to think about the worst scenario possible. Could you fire a friend? You've had talks with him, and a few of you in this room know of a woman. Her name's Bethany Blunt. She was one of my managers at Facebook. She said the greatest thing ever. The first one-on-one, when I sat down with Bethany, the first thing she said really stuck with me. It was so profound. And she said, Larry, I'm going to tell you what my job is. My job is to make sure there are never any surprises on your performance review. Bomb dropped. Mic drop, walked out of the room. It was perfect. Like, that's so important. If you have conversations with someone on your team and they're just not improving and you can't identify the reason why and you've given them every opportunity, I will tell you, I've had to fire people. It sucks. I have learned that after I need to fire someone, I take the rest of the day off and I go sit in a room and I just stew in my own, oh man, the world's unfair, and it's rough, but you have to be able to do it. And worst case scenario, could you do it to someone that you personally love and trust and they're a friend? Conversely, there's someone on your team you don't really get along with, but they're great for the team, they're great for the company, and they're a star performer. Could you promote someone that you personally don't get along with? That's important. Gentleman by the name of Brent Proctor, I worked with. We were in the same onboarding class at Facebook. He eventually became a manager. And he was the manager of my team. And I was chatting with him, and I said, hey, Brent, what is the trickiest thing about being a manager? And he used a Unix analogy. And he's like, well, Larry, we used to sit at a shell prompt. You hit enter. You can get a return code. Like, okay, 0, success, or -2, or 255, or whatever. You can compile something, right? You can check exceptions. You can check logs. As an IC, you can decide you want to try something, do it, and get a result that says, you screwed up, or hey, everything's fantastic. You don't get that as a people manager. You need to be comfortable going with your gut, going with your heart, going with your brain, and watching things manifest over a course of weeks or months. I'm a big-time gaver, so the analogy I threw out was, being an IC is like Mario Kart. Well, then people management is like playing a long game of Civilization. Like, you make your decisions, and then it might not be till the next era when you see, like, oh, this might not have been a good idea. You need to get comfortable with that, and if you have a good network, they'll help you through it. Empathy, be able to understand the world from other people's point of view. I'm legally blind. I cannot see the world through my own eyes. I better sure as hell be able to see it through other people's eyes. That's the way I look at it. Empathy is critical. Proactive. Ask yourself, do I need to wait to be given a checklist? Do I need to be kind of fed direction? If so, then people management might not be a great. Okay, I hate to throw out into the literature, but there's radical candor and radical acceptance and crucial conversations, and unfortunately, I'm going to have to add 2 phrases to the literature and the vernacular: become profoundly resourceful. If you want to excel at people management, know what to do when you don't know what to do. And if you tread carefully but with confidence and you have a good support network, you will rock it. Okay, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. We're approaching the end of the talk here. I truly don't know if I put this at the end because I think it's the most important, or, and I think my buddy Casey back there will be able to relate to this. I really think these next couple of slides are for myself because I can have some challenges with this. You need to become a stoic. You need to be able to learn how to take the frustration, the angst, the anger, and you don't repress it, but you need to learn how to deal with it, because if it leaks through as a people manager, it can demoralize your folks, it can tarnish your professional reputation. And here's the thing, like, I actually would like to think that I excelled as an IC because I was brutally honest, and if I saw something that was stupid, I didn't use the word stupid, but I said, hey, we gotta be doing something different. You gotta keep your emotions in check, folks. And again, this is really just a message for myself. Gotta learn to control them. This is one of my favorites. This is a serenity prayer. It's used by many folks. Alcoholics Anonymous uses this. I need to, on this recording, give my wife Amanda major props. She has been telling me for years, if not decades, Larry, you burn way too much energy stressing about things you can't control. And God bless her, I've been working on it, and I have been feeling better. And this is a great little tidbit to summarize how I think you should approach things, right? If you can't see it, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And here's another good one. Life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. Like it or not, we live in a political, human-driven environment. You will be judged positively, negatively, or both based on your reactions. My previous manager, her name was Aparna. I loved her to pieces. And she kind of was watching me from a distance. I ran a compliance engineering team. In compliance, they're kind of like the misfits of the engineering world. They have to do things differently. They don't get access to all the great tools and TLC and love from the engineering groups. So I was a little frustrated. I was a little angsty. And in our first long one-on-one, Aparna was such a sweetheart. And she said, you know, Larry, I like that you are really passionate. And if you've been a people manager, you quickly learn, that's a zip file that you quickly learn to extract and see what's in it. And she was being supportive. And what she was also saying is, it might not have been a good idea to drop the F-bomb in the Slack channel where there were a couple of executives hanging out. Maybe we didn't need the analogy between curing cancer and cleaning toilets in front of the CFO. Like, you know, she was very sweet, she was very kind, and she helped me work on it. So I took this into account. I'm like, I just need to remember to control my reactions. And I apologize, I'm not leaving much time for Q&A, but, okay, excellent, thank you. This is the final thought, and this is from the bottom of my heart. And I want to apologize, because I'm going to put 5 words up on this screen. It's not meant to sound snarky. Please raise your hand if you are a parent. Can I see if we've got parents in here? Okay, you'll be able to relate to this. And I think you'll appreciate how it very much ties into becoming a people manager. At the point in my career where I effectively signed on the dotted line, right? Like point of no return, like, okay, I'm gonna go in tomorrow, and holy cow, there were 50, I had 15 reports. The start of my people management career, I went from IC one day to 15 reports the next day. Don't do that. So I had that moment, and I looked myself in the mirror, and I don't know if it was my voice or just something from the ether, but I said these words out loud to myself, and I also say them to every new parent. This takes us full circle. I really hope all of you have people managers or have had people managers that operate like this. It takes us back to the very beginning. Great managers live and die and breathe and eat and sleep on the success of those around them. When I was an IC, I loved crunching my brain on hard problems. My daughter Zoe was born, and some of the hardest problems I solved at Facebook were solved by taking my little girl, my little baby girl, and walking her around at 3 a.m. I kid you, true story. One of the best little solutions I ever came up for a problem at Facebook simultaneously happened while she threw up all over me. And somehow her throwing up on me inspired the solution. I'm like, oh, that's totally what we could do. We just need to barf all of the data out. Like, this is not about parsing. This is about a transparency issue. But I love, my kids really help me think about management, and management helps me think about my kids. So really, I want to leave you with this parting thought. It's not about you anymore. Just be prepared to dedicate all of your energy to your folks, your peers, your management chain, but really your folks in the org and the people that report into you. Folks, oh, it was in quotes. Yeah, El Shroff, just some random dude that said that. Folks, that's it for my talk. Thank you so much. I love talking about this stuff. I apologize, I didn't leave room for much Q&A, but let's do that now.
No, you're good. We promised you 15 minutes, and on all the other tracks, you then have 10 minutes for questions. It's
Okay.
just they smushed this, so it's unclear. So we're going to start the questions. Do we have our next speaker in the house? You okay? So why don't you come up so you can get started? I'm parallelizing it because they didn't give us our normal space. So please go ahead. Before we do the questions, though, I'm going to take this out of her way, and then we will.
Cool. And again, I mean that. If anyone wants to talk about this stuff, I can talk about it day and night. So feel free to look me up on LinkedIn. Come find me if you use Facebook. I'm available there, email, you name it. And we can hop on some meets. So if there's any Q&A, like are we done? Is there no Q&A time, or do we have a couple minutes? Or?
Oh, no, we're going to do Q&A.
Fantastic.
I'm getting this out of her way so that she can be set up. That's all.
Sounds great.
I will help you if you need it, but for now, I'm going to start. You want to do the Q&A? Okay.
All right. Any questions?
I've been fighting not being a manager, so I'm going to be more of a tech lead. That's my path. But
Awesome.
I am noticing that as I do that, I also have to hone up on the same skills dealing with people with like junior developers, because I'm responsible for vetting their stuff.
Absolutely.
And I think having the skills, acquiring the skills, even if you're not going to be a manager, is important. One, for communicating also with your manager. It makes the relationship a little bit easier.
Absolutely.
And so there's no net negative on learning about it, and then maybe you like it. Or maybe in one company you're not going to have that opportunity, but somewhere else you will.
Absolutely. I want to paraphrase for the sake of the recording, in case it didn't come through the mic, and I want to paraphrase it. Like, these skills are amazingly adaptable and valuable, even if you don't want to become a people manager. And thank you for that example. Being a tech lead and being responsible for junior developers, absolutely critical skills. I couldn't agree more. Anyone else have any data points they're after? Quandaries?
Yeah, so let's say you become a manager. What about support for being a manager? Like, I work in a very small company, so it's not like I have a lot of other people at my level to hang out with.
That's tough. We need peers, right? I'll tell you what, if nothing else, a good people manager needs a trusted peer to vent to. Needs a therapist. I have been a therapist many times. I've needed therapy many times. I wish I had better advice for you, but I would say do your best to find someone in your network who is in as similar of a situation as possible, and you benefit by them being outside of the company, because then you can dump all of the dirt and gossip that you need to, right? You can turn off the filter. We people managers, I talked about being an introvert and the things that take your energy. You have to be careful and approach your communications in a certain way as a people manager. And the great thing is, if you can find a peer away from your company, you can just let it roll. You can just let it all come out. And if you're lucky enough that it's a pre-existing friend, then they get it, and they'll just let you vent and let things tumble. But I wish I had an answer for you. But at a small company of support for being a manager, you're going to have to find your external resources. I wish I had a better answer. I wish I was there, because then I would get you up there. Like, I would look for every opportunity to develop you and say, like, give you more responsibility, and like, hey, you're ready for more. So you're going to have to be self-sufficient and find it externally. And then if you find you crave that advancement and you're not getting it where you're at, you're going to have to consider going elsewhere, which is not a trivial deal. That's a very big deal. Look me up on LinkedIn or however you like to communicate, and let's do a call.
I will, because my next question is, I just got my Oh, sorry, I just got my notice on Wednesday, so now I'm looking at working at another company.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, so,
I'm so sorry to hear that.
yeah, well, I mean, once all the film work comes back, I might be back at my company.
Gotcha.
But I got to figure out something to do in between, and so, I'm like, okay, what do I want to be doing at my next company? And because I'm managing at a small company, do I want to manage at a bigger company?
Absolutely. And I feel like I could help you answer that question. I can give you a framework if you want to chat about it. But yeah, it's kind of turbulent and it can be unexpected. But absolutely, it's about what's available matched to what you're familiar with. You could do a large. Small versus large is not a huge transition. That's the good news. There's just almost like a few pro tips I would pass on. Looks like we got one back there.
Hi, thank you for the talk. I'm a people manager, so I came to this talk trying to figure out if it's truly for me because I'm struggling with that, right? I've been being a people manager, and the reason I'm a people manager is because I'm in the company that you said that you shouldn't be, where you become an IC, and after some point, you have to become a people manager, right?
Oh, okay. And I'm going to ask you to be very honest. In the big picture, how's that working out for folks there? Is it a good culture? Does it work? Or is it difficult to navigate?
Yeah, it's very difficult to navigate. It's complicated. There is a lot, I'm not a people person, so I had to learn a lot about that.
Yep.
And my bosses have been very good to that.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
It really helps to have support on that end.
But I always tell my boss that he teaches me by telling me, this is the pool, this is the deep end, that's the other side, let me push in this way. And when I'm drowning, he will pull me out, he will jump into the pool, swim, and tell me, just get out of the pool, says, that's how you do it, right? So it's very much, let me show you how I do it, and you try to figure out the way that you can do it.
That's support. That's good. It's amazing how many people become people managers and don't have anyone trying to support them from above in their management chain. So that is good. Is the overall environment optimal? Probably not, but I'm glad you're getting support. Keep listening to them. I do want to pass on this thought, and this is something that they taught us in Facebook onboarding. It is 5 times more effective to play to your strengths than your weaknesses. And the basically research showed to get kids from an F to a C took 5 times more energy than getting them from a C to an A. So if you keep thinking about it, keep getting objective feedback from your manager, and figure out if being a people manager plays to your strengths. You will have to develop skills, but you have to figure out if you're going to the gym and your muscles are sore, is it because you just haven't exercised the muscles before, or is it because you weren't meant to be doing that exercise and you're actually doing damage to yourself?
Right.
So,
it's like,
yeah.
am I, exactly at the point that I'm trying to figure out, am I a fish trying to climb a tree, or am I just a monkey that is kind of, not lazy, but trying to understand what exactly needs to go through? But the question that I had, and the one that I've been struggling a little bit lately, is because now you're in a management position, you become the place for complaints to go.
Yep.
Right? And all of a sudden, you have to defend to a degree policies that you might not agree, but you cannot openly or very proactively go into saying, I disagree with.
Okay. You know what? This is per company culture, and there's a great guy named Josh. He was my therapy. We were each other's therapy. And one of Josh's biggest concerns was, how do you not agree with the decrees from above and communicate it to your folks? You don't want to necessarily do what I do because it's heavily dependent on the culture, but I hate this word, but I got to use it. I am always authentic. So what I will do is I will tell my folks, look, folks, I'm going to be honest, I don't really agree with this. And sometimes I'll say, maybe it's just because I don't understand it, but we were given this, well, this doesn't apply here, this doesn't apply here. But I very constructively say, but look, we got to do it. And if you can do it, if you can dig in and we can get through it, I will buy you all beers on Wednesday, or I will take you out. It's hard, and your culture can say like, hey, just toe the line. But you have got to find a way to let your folks know, either directly or very subtly through context or through subtext. Don't just toe the line and let everyone think you're cool with it, because your reports and your organization, especially if you've got people managers under you, they will see through it. So it is okay to be a dissenter as long as you're a constructive and communicating dissenter. And then if you've got a healthy environment, talk to the folks making the decisions, get on a phone with them and say, like, hey, can you help elaborate why you decided this? So you can get through it. It's tough, and I have been in your shoes, but do not bottle it up and let your folks know that it's okay to dissent a little bit. I apologize. I'm legally blind, so I don't want to cut into your time. Dustin, how am I doing, Dustin? We doing good? Should we call it here, or are there any more questions? Do we have time? Well, a little bit because we've got this. Ready to go? Yeah. Cool. It sounds like we got a couple more minutes. If there's anyone wants to throw anything out there. We all good? Sweet. All
One
right.
more. Hello?
Oh, one more. All right, cool.
I agree with all your presentation. I have been an IC, haven't been a manager, but have been considering it. I have a question. At one point, you said something about, if you're working for a good company. What if you're not working for a good company, and there's a bunch of old, let's say, legacy stuff, and the managers are managers just because they were there's no training and stuff, and you want to transition to maybe a new company. Do you have any tips on how you go about finding a good new company?
Culture. You want to tap the grapevine. Talk to your friends either in person or in Slack. There's good stories. The thing is, between Quora and Reddit and everything under the sun, you will find the places that people are talking about where you want to go, where you don't want to go. Let me ask you this. Outside of all the other managers, if you don't mind me asking a personal question, does your manager support you? And you might not feel comfortable answering that, so let me see if I can ask it in a safer way. Yeah. Do you feel it is potentially safe at your company to try management out and then use that experience to leapfrog to another company saying, I have some management experience? Or do you think it's best to just start externally? I want to start with that.
It's a smaller, medium-sized company. I've sort of broached the subject a little bit. There aren't that many. There are a number of managers, but the overall let's say the ownership and stuff, there isn't. It's not like a bigger company where you have the managers have training and
that was
HR.
a key thing you said.
It's smaller where people are doing multiple jobs.
Yeah,
So the payroll clerk and the finance person are the HR department.
I'll give you the good news. There is a way to do it and to transfer externally. Come find me and let's do a Google Meet or a Zoom call sometime next week, because I can throw you out some ideas. But it is possible to get what you need and do it externally. So that's the good news there. We all good on time?
Nope, we're done.
Okay,
So
awesome.
I need to change up. Thank our speaker again. That was fantastic.